Fendi Cat and I welcome you to our cozy studio for a paint with me session where I will walk you through my process for creating a mountainscape scene in watercolor, which did not go exactly as planned. Inspiration for today's watercolor session comes from this book, Celestial Watercolor by Elise Mahan with D.R. McElroy. Wanted to make sure I give credit where credit is due because I am essentially using this as the inspiration and didn't deviate enough that I could say I was stealing like an artist, but I'm using this as a reference and it's just for practice and fun. So just wanted to make sure I gave credit to this book here that you can see I bought at Half Price Books. And what appealed to me was the art in this book, not just learning the constellations, which I remember learning in elementary school, constellations, and I do enjoy looking up at the night sky, and I sometimes, look for Orion or the Big Dipper, but I'm rusty on the rest of the constellations, so that's part of what appealed to me about this book was learning that or relearning some of those. And also, it's just a really good watercolor technique and tutorial book. So if you are interested in this book for that reason, it's a great find for that. Primarily for me, this was inspiration for the style, I guess you could say, because they use a lot of washes in the background. And then there's a lot of texture and pattern on top. So you can see here, these are some fun and inspiring textures to create for a nice relaxing painting session, which is what I am all about. And you can also learn some more about the zodiac signs here. But again, you can see the washes, and then over top there's either maybe a gouache or what I will be using probably today, not probably, I am using today, these Sharpie acrylic markers. I find they work really nice for those little details for painting over watercolor, with white. So I know a lot of times people can achieve this with gouache, and I have yet to try that, but it will be something I will try eventually. So today's session is inspired by, let me show you which one, this one right here, Earth Signs. And it's this mountainscape that inspired me today, and I wondered how difficult it would be to create it. And so that's what we're going to be doing today, and will walk you through what I used, how I went about this, and you'll see at the end that it did not exactly go as planned, and that's okay. We will go with it. The paint set that I'm using is the Kuretake Art Nouveau set. And if you're interested, the colors that I pulled here are Cobalt Turquoise Light, Pale Aqua, Billiard Green, and Saffron Yellow. I'm using a pipette to activate them. I just started doing this and I love it better than the spray bottle that I was using because I'm just challenged and I would get water everywhere besides the paint. So I like the little pipettes. And for the brush, it is a number 8 round. And you can see I've already kind of started this before recording. And all this is I'm using a pretty low quality paper. It is a watercolor paper. I think I got it. I know I got it at Hobby Lobby on sale. And so it's, not the best paper type, but this was just sort of a practice thing. And I took I have a round plastic palette that I used as my circle template. So I just traced around it, centered it, eyeballed it, and put a background color. I think I used that saffron yellow and not another paint color for the background. Um, and then now you can see me here going in and trying to put in the sky first. And then I'll go in and paint the mountains. But before I tell you about that, the mountains were fairly easy to do. And just basically in the center, I put in a triangular shaped masking fluid, and I'm using the Grumbacher Misket Liquid Frisket is literally what it says on the front of this thing. And I've never used it before this and didn't realize it was pretty liquidy. And so you can see some of the gum bled off in outside of the circle, but it worked still pretty well for me. This was everything about this was a learning curve. So um, never really painted a mountainscape like this before, and never used the Misket liquid frisket. It's kind of funny. But that's so I had already let that dry before I started recording, and yeah. So here you can see me continuing with the background and putting in color, playing around with it. Not really much else to say about that, so I will be quiet and let you watch the rest of this process. And here I'm taking that pale aqua color to create the mountains. And what was cool about this mountain scene being gummed off here with the masking fluid was I didn't have to wait for the sky to dry before I came in with the mountains part. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to stay in the line because I did not mask off the circle, and mainly because I wanted to practice control with my brush in addition to playing with the paint to create depth and darks and lights and whatnot. So that is what I was attempting to do here. And for the most part, it turned out okay, I think. Not exactly crispy, perfect all the way around, but not too bad for freehand, I think. And yeah. And at this point, it was time for the masking fluid to come off, and it came off really fairly easily. Just rubbing it off with my fingers was all that I needed to do. I didn't have to get an eraser or anything like that. It was coming off pretty cleanly, pretty quickly too. So I have to say I was very happy with this, other than it being really liquidy, which didn't give me a lot of control. I kind of would like to have had maybe thinner lines on the white part, but it's okay. It was a learning experience, and I will be using this stuff again, playing with it again. So I think overall I am a fan. Look at that. Looks great. And here's where the Sharpie marker came in. I put in a few little dots and wasn't really trying to make the constellations or anything like that, but just wanted to add in some more white to the mountains as well as the little stars up there in the sky, and just give us some variation in line weight on the mountains, similar, more a little more similar to the original. For this next part, I pulled out the Kuretake Gold Mica paint and used it, as you can see here, for the little golden highlights in the mountain as well as up in the sky, creating some movement up in the sky as well. For this next part, I'm using a Stabilo fine point marker pen and putting in a little bit of texture similar to the background in the original. And this is the point at which it started to go a little south. I began to see, now that I had my beautiful teals and gold in the mountainscape, this background color that I painted originally just wasn't working for me. And so I was attempting to make it better. And I thought, okay, first I'll put in some texture here in the background, and then you'll see here in a minute that I started adding different colors to the texture, and it just never really felt right. You'll see. Here's where I also picked up another medium. This one is the Pentel SparklePop pen with gold, or in gold, and I added a little bit of uh, that gold in the background texture, and then here I am going around the circle to make it a little more less organic and a little more crisp around the edge. That was my aim at this point. Don't know that I achieved that goal, but or even made it look even better or any better. But I was making an attempt to do that there. Here's the green one of the Sparkle Pop pens, and I thought, well, maybe I just need some more lights and darks. And so I thought, let's add the green. I think maybe even I tried to do the blue as well. And I even put some of this color in the mountainscape as well. But still not working for me. And at this point, I'm thinking about abandoning this project altogether, but I kept going. At this point, I'm calling on my confidence to help me see this through to the end and keep going and just keep in wonder. Like, I wonder what would happen if I did this. I wonder what would happen if I did that. And that's where we were at this point. So now here, I decided, I wonder what it would look like if I brought in another pale color, because I'm trying to tone down this bright yellow green down. And so I pulled this is a gouache from Beam Paints, and don't know what the color is, but it is, this light blue color. And I thought, well, I know my Sparkle Pop pens are not water resistant. They are going to smear, but I wonder what it would look like if I sort of try to blend it in a little bit and make it a little less stark. And so that's what I'm attempting to do here with this paint. And overall, at the end, I did love the effect that it made. It just didn't tone down the color enough for me to leave it as a background. And here I went back to the Kuretake, that billiard green that was in the background in the sky, not in the background, but on the mountainscape. I decided to see if that would tone down this bright yellow green that was happening. And so this was actually fun to play with, and it was good to practice the control. Just seeing what the paints would do. It's wet on wet. It's, mixing that pen in the background. It's, maybe dry brushing some of it is what I was attempting to do here. Even though the paint is still damp, it had a nice little dry brush effect that I did enjoy. And I thought, putting that in the back of my mind for another project maybe. I did like the effect. I just didn't like how it was working with my mountainscape. So I'll just keep trying new things, keep going and see what happens. So let's see what did happen. just kept going with the green here and kept trying to make a texture. And I wasn't hating it, I just didn't like it with the mountainscape. And so here we go. I decided to cut the circle out. And then I thought, well, what can I do with this background? And you can see here, I decided to cut them into these long leaf shapes and create a completely different composition in my experiment sketchbook. That's what I call this one. This is for play and fun and doing things I haven't done before, experimenting, trying different things. And that is exactly what's going on here. So wasn't sure how much I was going to hate myself cutting these skinny little pieces out and trying to glue them down, but it didn't hurt too badly. And I did have fun doing it. So, and overall at the end, I was much happier with the composition of the mountainscape in general. And yeah, it just made my eyes a lot happier. So tell me what you think. Do you think it looks better than it did, or should I have kept it on the background I created? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this whole thing, and your thoughts on gluing these skinny little pieces down. So I developed this little process here for gluing the skinny little pieces down, and it did leave a mess on my finger. But the cool thing about this Uhu glue is, even though there's a lot of glue on the paper, I thought maybe my pages would stick together. They didn't end up doing that because the glue dries and then it's relatively easy to get off the paper. So no sticking happened. And I created this sort of willow tree effect to hang down over my mountains to give it some emphasis. And it wasn't a terrible process, but I don't know how much of this I want to do again. But again, yeah, this was, you'll see, this is pretty much it. This is where it landed, and I will be curious to hear your comments. Tell me below, did you think the original background worked okay, or what were your I'd love to hear suggestions. In my feelings will not get hurt. This was just all for play and fun and experimentation and wonder. I'm trying to be a little bit more about wonder. I wonder what would happen if I did this. I wonder what would happen if I did that, because it's just a lot more fun to be in that frame of mind. Okay, gluing down the last leaves here of the little willow tree effect that I was attempting to create, and getting ready to glue down the mountainscape. It was a little messy, but this Uhu stick is really good stuff for this kind of painting or project in a sketchbook. So that's pretty much it. So thank you if you stayed till the end. I appreciate that. And if you are feeling even extra generous, you want to leave me a like and a subscribe to my channel, I would be so grateful. And help me, encourage me to keep making some more of these, which I do plan on doing. So thanks again.